Right. So did we, when we came in, did we agree that we're going to sort of forget? Was that part of the plan? Because it seems like once you remember, it's so much more fun. But I wish I remembered earlier.
But think about what we're talking about here today. The most important thing, you came with no way to forget, and that is your emotions.
Right.
It is not possible for you to forget your connection to source because you can feel it. Now, it's possible that you can be confused about what it is, but isn't it easy now you are remembering it? Doesn't it just make perfect sense to you? You didn't forget. You just got, it was just muted with other less important things that sort of took precedence for a while.
Right.
You didn't say, I'll come forth and forget about how it all works, but you did not intend to come forth and remember all of the details of all of those life experiences. You see how challenging it even is sometimes, even in the middle of a context of a pure positive energy gathering like this one. You see how easy it is to get focused on an issue rather than upon what's in the vortex. Can you imagine if you had a few lifetimes of issues to remember?
Right.
You said, I'll go forth and I'll be new, and I'll be new and I'll be purely connected to source. And then I'll move around through the contrast, but I'll never forget what that pure connection to source feels like. And whenever you come back to it, as you so often do now, you remember that very early feeling, don't you? Aren't you beginning to get some glimpses of your childhood before you were so resistant? Aren't you now in your alignment beginning to remember what true independence feels like? True independence. Independence from self-degradation. Independence from blaming others. Independence from guilt. Independence from self-comparison to everything in the world. Aren't you starting to get some whiffs of that free feeling? Aren't you finding yourself wanting to skip every now and again in your exuberance for life? You see?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so the other question is sort of like an issue, and it's personal. So here I go. But
now, before you go there,
right?
Before you go there, we sincerely want you to sincerely ask yourself. First of all, has this conversation brought you into the vortex, or are you so not there anyway that you're not going to be sacrificing anything? You see, that's what happens with most people. Most people continue to hammer the issue from outside the vortex because they've got nothing to lose because they're already ornery. Think about it. Think about it. I already don't feel good, so let me just tell you this one more story.
Right.
Let me just tell you this one more story. And we say, all that's doing, in other words, it's not going to jerk you out of the vortex if you're not in the vortex, so you really don't have that to lose. But why practice? Why tune to something that is in lower vibration? Wouldn't you like to just skip that part?
Right. So what I'm asking is how can I skip that part?
By not talking about it at all. You see, here's the way we would put it to you. So you know what you don't want.
Right.
So what you do want is in the vortex.
Right.
And we're saying this to you right here and now, but we're saying it to any of you anytime. If when you're going to discuss it with yourself through pondering or discuss it with a friend through conversation, as the discussion is beginning, if you think that there is a strong probability that you can discuss it from an in the vortex vantage point, then open the discussion. And you can tell by the way you feel on it, but if it's an issue, then logically, you're not going to pull it into the vortex. And it would be better to have a discussion about something that already has you in the vortex.
Yeah.
In other words, do you hear the distinction? So what we just said is, you solve the issue that's bothering you, not by talking about the issue that's bothering you, but by talking about a subject that for sure puts you in the vortex. Do you understand why? Because the creative process is 3 steps. Step 1 is ask. Contrast has you asking all the time. Step 2 is source gathers it all up and answers it and prepares it and creates it and gathers all the cooperative components and makes it a reality in this vibrational vortex. So step 2 is taken care of. Step 3 is get in the vortex. Get in the vortex. So the question is it likely that I can discuss this issue inside the vortex Is it?
I think so.
Then why, well, maybe so, but why did you call it an issue? If you can tell us, if you can talk about it from inside the vortex, then we will begin it. Okay. If we get a whiff of it.
Right. Yeah.
That it's not in the vortex, then we're going to distract you and ask you to choose another subject that's easier for yourself. Because far more important than you understanding this issue, far more important than you wrestling this issue to the ground or even dragging it into the vortex, far more important than that is your relationship with the vortex here and now, because that's the step 3 part. When you do step 3, you could use any subject in the world to complete step 3, and now you're in the vortex where the answer to everything you want is, where the solution to every problem is.
Right.
But you got to get in the vortex before you can find the solution. Did that make sense?
Uh-huh.
So you stay off the topic that keeps you out of the vortex, get on the topic that takes you in the vortex, and when you're in the vortex, then you have access to information.
Okay.
So the question is, from inside the vortex, when you turn to that, are you going to get spit out of the vortex immediately? If you are, then next time in, don't do that. You see what we're getting at?
Yes, I do.
So let's play with this. Let's see. It's all right. You're going to like this because it's a really good way to understand this alignment business, this feeling business, this what do I do now business. Mm-hmm. So,
okay.
Make your best effort to make an inside the vortex statement about the issue.
Okay.
Let's call it the subject.
Okay.
The subject.
I can tell what it feels like because I practice feeling it. It's that thing about, then I turn to
No, wait.
I know.
So just go slow.
Okay.
And do your very best to approach it from inside the vortex. Might not even be possible. We might be asking an impossible thing of you. And if we are, we're going to figure it out really fast and we're going to change the subject. Okay. So there's no danger here other than the danger of complete humiliation.
Right. Okay. So, well, I feel really, really good when I think about having this experience with this person. And I know he doesn't want to do that. So that spits me out. So every day,
so now you're out. So now you're out. So now you're out now. And that spits me out. So now I might as well tell you. I want somebody who doesn't want me.
Right.
And every time I think about it, it's mostly painful because it's not moving anywhere. So there, you've said it. Now don't ever say that again.
Okay.
So now, this is a subject that's been going on long enough that it's not likely that you're going to get into the vortex with it. Mm-hmm. We used to do focus wheels. You remember? The wheel is spinning so fast you can't get on it. It just blows you off in the bushes.
Right.
So don't try to get in the vortex on that subject. Get in the vortex on some other subject. So change the subject. Later, Gator, don't have to think about that now. Nothing's going to happen. I don't have to worry about it this red hot minute. There are plenty of other wonderful things in my life. Deactivate.
Yeah.
And I've survived this long. I can survive longer. And there are plenty of fish in the sea. Well, that was out of the vortex you go. There are many things in my life that are really working well. For example,
I love what I do. I have 2 different jobs and it's so awesome. And I slide Abraham into every yoga class that I teach. Because it's fun. It feels great.
Details. We want details, nitty gritty.
And it's really, and I love that people get what I'm saying and that they come up to me afterward. I know that I set it up that way because I only hear from the people who like what I do and the people who don't show up. So it's really fun that it's biased like that because I'm just always feeling good and they clap when it's over.
So I'm excelling in this way and this way. What else?
Yeah.
What else? Now is that it? Was she in the vortex? Yes. Keep going.
And the person that I work with at my other job is like my best friend.
Now we have a question for you. Can you feel a distinct separation between this subject and the other subject?
Yeah, when I think about the other subject.
Well, that's a really good that's a really good answer. But just now, were you feeling the distinction between the two subjects?
I was not on that one. So
you weren't, were you? You weren't on that subject, so it wasn't
No.
active, so it wasn't a player in your vibration. So you managed, by focusing on something that was working, to completely deactivate the part of you that isn't working. And that's the work. That's how you get the one who doesn't want you to want you.
Okay, but he lives with me.
You're just determined to make trouble, aren't you?
I guess I am. And it's a specific thing that I already know he doesn't want to do. So it's like, it's that, and I read the Vortex along, when it first came out, and I thought, oh, this is very similar because it's the husband who had the wife who kind of lost interest in physical intimacy. And I'm like, well, there's a part I kind of knew going in that there was a piece that he didn't like.
You're just determined to tell the story,
I
aren't
know.
you? You're just determined to tell the story. I'll just wait until Abraham's not watching, and then I'll just slip it in.
I'll try to tell a story.
I'll just slip it in. And maybe since Abraham's in the vortex, when I slip it in, it'll help me.
Yeah.
I say it doesn't work that way at all. It doesn't work that way at all.
Okay.
So we have some questions for all of you, but specifically for you.
Okay.
Do you believe that just getting into the vortex business is a good idea? Because if you get into the vortex, then you can get people who don't want to do things to do things.
No.
It's a really good question. In other words, are you seeking refuge in the vortex to gain control of the behavior of others?
No.
So if you're aware of someone else's lack of interest in something, why is that your issue?
Because I don't get to do it either then.
So now we're talking about the manifestation of it. It's sort of like she doesn't have her baby yet either.
Right.
So is there something to be said for, in other words, so you are still absent the manifestation of something that you want.
Right.
And thinking that somebody else needs to behave differently so that you can have the manifestation of it. And what we're saying to you is, if you will get yourself into the vortex where you can have the feeling of everything that you want, the manifestation must follow. It must follow. But there's an important thing that almost everybody trips up on, and that is, but I don't get it. How do I get it when the person that I want to do it with doesn't want to do it? And we say, let the vortex show you. Let the vortex show you. In other words, this is a very good opportunity for you to find out. In other words, you need to find your independence not from what someone else wants or does not want to do, but from your expectation that is now hanging on what they're saying. In other words, your expectation is in the what isness, where the vortex is holding everything that you've put in it, you see.
Right. Yep.
Are you following this? It's sort of when you put it in the precise behavioral terms that you just did, it activated in almost everyone in the room and beyond. It activated that feeling that I really don't have utter control of my life experience, Abraham. I don't care what you say, because I'm co-creating with others, and in co-creating there has to be cooperation. There is give and take. There is me giving in. There is the other giving in, and we say this is something that humans have done as a disservice to themselves for a long time. When you're considering everyone else in your experience, instead of considering your relationship to what your desire is. So what we're really talking about here, it's not the issue that you think it is. What we're talking about here is, Abraham, I don't seem to have the ability to stay focused upon something I want unless I have, in this moment, cooperation from others. And we say, if that's true, then anyone who wants to be a best-selling author can't be, because they right now don't have a publisher that's ready to publish them, so you should just give it up. Or anyone who wants to be a movie star who already doesn't have an agent or already doesn't have a project, then should just give it up because none of that is in place right now. And none of that is true because it is in place. It is in a vibrational place. But you can't let the reality of what is